Well. Once more into the breach, dear fellows. What an active little chat. That's lovely. Thank you very much for joining me, everyone. I'm going to just say hello to a few people, but it's, it would behoove me to say that if you could send this stream to just one friend right now or just send it to one Discord group that you're in with permission, obviously. Don't just spam my link everywhere. It would really help the channel. It's how small channels like this grow. More content will be coming over the hill because a light thing happened. I heard at the beginning of April that Vix and I were working towards something quite big. That big thing has now happened. It was achieved. It was my driving test. I passed first time. Yay. And we gave ourselves a treat of a curry last night, and I ate myself into a food coma. And then I had the leftovers today, and I did the exact same thing. So I've just woken up from a little nap. I'm raring to go, ready to talk about this. And I've got some great people to talk about it with. So who have we got in chat? We got Shellback Bo all the way from Japan. 5 o'clock in the morning. Thank you very much indeed for joining. We've got the Amazing Gaming Productions here. As always, welcome, sir. Celeste, great to see you. There's Kyle in the chat, Dying Breed TT. Guys, if you haven't followed at Dying Breed TT over on X, you are missing out for some he's old opinions. Who else have we got? We've got Kinect. Hello, Kinect. Nice to see you here. Jeff from Denkar. He's over on Rumble. If you don't want to support the show with a Rumble rant, that is always helpful. Not quite there on YouTube yet for Super Chats, but we are available for Rumble rants over there. We've got the Elven Maid in. Welcome, my dear. Welcome indeed. Oh, we got Lepus Felix. Hello. Who else we got? Untold Destiny. And Stug was the first person to say anything in chat. So welcome, everyone. There's also this weird bloke that I've got in chat. Well, he's not actually said anything in chat, but it's been a while since he's been on stream. You know him, you love him. It's the Brass Dragon.
All right. How's it going?
I'm not too bad, mate. You're a bit under the weather, my love.
I am. I'm dying again.
You know, they say that the female form helps men recover. So how do you like my t-shirt?
That's made me worse, mate.
It's Red Sonja. How could you not like Red Sonja? Are
you
not a red-blooded dragon, huh? The dragon's cold-blooded?
I don't actually know, to be honest. I guess, I don't know, hot-blooded? They breathe fire?
Yeah, apart from the icy ones, I guess. Maybe we should bring in another dragon expert, because you're a Welshman. I have another Welshman. Look, it's Dean.
Hiya, Jack. Good to be here.
Good to see you, mate. How are you?
Not bad. Congratulations on your driving test. As someone who tried and never actually got to the test, well done.
Man, I'm 30 years old. I put it off for a while, but it was one of those things that we decided we need to get done. And it was an expensive, arduous process, but kudos to my instructor because he put up with a lot from me. I do not enjoy driving. I'm just proficient at it, I think is the best way of putting it. You know who doesn't enjoy things but is proficient? I don't know. This is a terrible introduction. Hi, Variax.
Hello.
How have you been, sir?
I don't enjoy anything, but
yes,
I'm proficient at several things. It's true.
Oh god. Well, so you were sick last week. You're feeling better now, I hope.
I am. I passed it on. Yeah.
To him. Yeah, good. He deserves it.
It's the only explanation.
Why would you do this?
Well, obviously, he wants to go after your treasure haul.
I want to be better, so that's it.
Therefore, someone else must
someone else has to be worse.
Well, I'm passing it on to someone else in this stream. It's going to be Dean or it's going to be Jack. 50-50.
Well, it better be me because Dean's just got back from nearly dying, so let's give him a break.
I don't want to have a cold right now or anything like that.
Or I'll give it to Jack then. Right, next week, Jack, you're ill.
Generous. Oh, great. Can I call in sick to work? No. Right, so yes, we are a UK-based stream this week, everyone. Not an American in sight, except for the ever-present looming hammer of justice that is the Modwife behind me over there. You okay, Modwife? Thumbs up, good. Right, so...
Is she level 60 yet?
Are you level 60 yet? I don't think she can hear me through her headphones. She was just waiting for me to say, are you good? Are you level 60 yet?
Yeah.
He says yes.
Oh, there we are then.
Yeah.
She's done it. She's completed Classic WoW.
All right. So, gentlemen, Variax in particular.
Oh no.
We did a stream, you and I, Variax, what, 2-3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, a little while ago. Specifically because I told you there was an Oblivion remaster rumored to be in the works. And we both said, maybe not, maybe, could just be rumors. And it happened.
Did it?
Believe it or not, it happened. And it is all the internet is talking about, because I think people forgot just how good Oblivion was, not just as a game, but as a spectacle. So yes, Oblivion I got home from school to play Oblivion in 2006. I'm getting home from work to play Oblivion in 2025. Oh, what a life. What a life indeed. But yes, Oblivion Remastered has happened. I know Dean and Brass have played it, and I think you were going to hold off until a sale. Has that changed, or are you still holding off?
Well, I'm still holding off. Maybe not for a sale, but this week's bad for me. So I don't know. We'll see. But yes, there is interest from my community. So I feel, that, and I am going to play it. So yeah, I should probably get on with it, really, basically. But...
well, you never know. Someone might, if someone super chats me 50 quid or donates 50 quid over on Rumble, I will gift it to Variax on Steam.
You don't need to.
It'll be the Variax Oblivion fund. Oh, shush you! I
fine.
I want. But there you go. That's how you extract value from your audience. Is you make it seem as if you're doing a good deed, but actually it's entirely self-centered. But yes, the Oblivion remake dropped. It is a massive bloody success, and that got me got my little noggin jogging. And I think that RPGs, classic Western style RPGs, and yes, the other mate is bringing up Expedition 33, but Western RPGs in particular are, I believe, going to sort of make a bit more of a comeback. So Baldur's Gate 3 was a watershed moment where we found that people wanted a meaty traditionalist RPG. Now, I've got a lot of problems with Baldur's Gate 3, but it is at its core, it is a CRPG. It's a very early BioWare / kind of early Obsidian mashed together RPG. But it is definitely an RPG. There's no saying that, no arguing that. Then you've got things like the Fall of Avalon coming down the pipeline. You've got Sky Oblivion, which is a mod, which is trying to bring back some of the older stuff, but in Skyrim's engine. And of course, you've got the thing that sparked this conversation, that is the Oblivion remaster. So, gents, before we get on to I believe that's a Rumble rant that's just come in. Indeed, it is. Before we get on to a Rumble rant, do you have similar thoughts? Do we think that Western-style, meatier RPGs, things that aren't just action-based, perk-based combat, are on their way back? Do we think there might be a bit more of a demand?
It depends on how long it takes Elder Scrolls 6 to release. Because I think they're back for now. We're having a little peak. But are we going to then have a trough? Who knows?
I think we've got the possibility. If developers are allowed to do what they want to do, if writers are allowed to write the content they want to write and design systems they want to give us, the audience, I think we're in for a new gold age of computer-based RPGs. But we'll have to wait and see. All the retro stuff coming back, it's amazing. We'll get to talk probably about Expedition 33 because that is a brand new IP on the market. But on the Western RPG side, I don't know. I don't want to hope too much. I'd like to think that we're going to get some great stuff on the horizon, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't happen.
So you're kind of hopeful then, with the golden age is a strong word, because for me the golden age of gaming was probably from 2000 to 2010.
Well, I was in the original golden age of computer-based RPGs, and that was the sort of late 80s, early 90s, Might and Magic. You're talking the Gold Box, the Pools of Radiance stuff, the Bard's Tales, Dungeon Master. They were all fantastic. And then turn-based and the sort of measured stats and lots of numbers became a bit of a taboo. And Skyrim, as much as I do love it, and I've played it quite a bit, the stripping out of all the attributes and numbers really did make me cry at the time. So I'm hoping we're going to see a reverse of that.
I don't reckon Skyrim quite makes it as an RPG for me, but we'll get into that in a mo. But what's your general feeling, Variax?
Yeah, it seems to go in ways like Brass said. You know, there was the era of the sort of mid 80s, let's say, where you had the Ultimates and things like that, and then we get in 2000s, you get the Baldur's Gate 2s, and then a bit of a gap, and then now. So it might be a cycle that just naturally happens. I'm not really sure, but I do hope, that we're getting some really good RPGs. Because I think we've just look at a franchise like Dragon Age. We had the first one, which was great in, I'd say, the back end of that second era, if you like.
One of the best games ever made was
then,
Dragon Age Origins, in my opinion.
And then we had 2, which I've never played, but every time it's mentioned on streams and such, people will say, yeah, it's really good, but, and then they have a caveat about it's a bit MMO-y and that kind of thing. And then we get Dragon Age 3, which is maybe what Brass was alluding to about writers wanting to write what they want to write rather than going down a road of we need to write this and appeal to this kind of sensibility type thing. So with Baldur's Gate 3 not really doing that there and being so successful, it can maybe move us in a different direction towards, like you say, more traditional Western RPGs of slaying dragons and rescuing fair damsels and things like that.
Many a fair damsel to be rescued. No, I would probably, I would agree. I think I'm not going to say a golden age as Dean, but I think there are some fantastic things coming up. There is one that I should be remiss to forget to mention, and that is the Wayward Realms of Daggerfall Spiritual Succession fame is on its way. They released a little progress bar that they've been working on over on the Twitter machine today, and they've now got a core game that they are playing in their offices and expanding upon. So the Wayward Realms is very much real and very much happening.
I'm surprised it's taken you this long to bring that game up in this stream.
Honestly, man, if that game comes out at the end of this year in early access and is half as good as I expect it to be, that will be a northern star from which all other companies can then follow, much like Skyrim became this kind of false prophet of stars that every other game has tried to follow the last decade, including Skyrim itself. Right, we have a Rumble rant for $2 dues from Jeff from Denkar. Need to scroll up a little bit. There we go. Quick question. What are your rules and suggestions when running one DM, one player game? Running a game for either Castle Crusades or Basic Fantasy for a single player Friday, and I want to pick your brains. We'll make this one kind of quick. I've only really ran for one person a couple times, and that's mostly just as intro sessions. So I can't be too helpful on this. I know Variax isn't really a D&D guy. Brass, have you ran for single people before?
I have done, but only when I'm teaching them how to play the game.
Much like myself, then. How about you, Dean?
I have done a one-on-one, and it depends on what you're trying to cover. If you want to do some exciting combat encounters, you really need to understand what character they're going to play. You've got to tailor the adventure to that player, to the player's character. No point if they're playing a wizard and you chuck traps at them. It's just going to be a disaster of a session. That said, if you understand what they're playing and you understand what they expect from the game, you can craft a very, very good session and you can take them on one hell of a journey. So go for it.
Nice. Well, thanks for the $2 due, Jeffrey. I appreciate that very much. There you go, Variax. There's $2 in the pot.
I'm gonna buy it to stop you buying me.
So I get what I want anyway. The Variax community can thank me.
It's not a maybe. It's just a when. You know, there's no need.
But I can bring the timeline up by threatening things. I hold power here.
Well, owning it doesn't mean playing it. You know, I'm just.
Yeah. You got me there.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, the Wayward Realms, Brass. You're surprised it took me this long. It surprised me that it took this long because I was going to bring it up, very very early. Like, I always make a point of flashing the mug, because that game will be the sort of watershed moment for me of this year.
Or it's going to be an absolutely massive disappointment, like Starfield.
Well, yeah, make or break.
And you're going to be depressed for 4 months.
I did still play 100 hours of Starfield, but I think I got my money's worth.
Only when it got better.
I don't think better is the word I would use. Sabo's in chat. Hello, Sabo. Do you guys ever play ESO?
Yes.
No? Dean? Elder Scrolls Online?
I did, yeah, in the early days. It was trying to wean myself off WoW at the time, and it did the trick. It put me off MMOs for good.
It put you off Bethesda for good, did it?
It really did on the MMO front. It was so incredibly grindy. It was the early days, interesting concept, but it took the grind to another level, and I realized I had so much more interesting things to do with my life than play MMOs.
Oh no, I played probably more than I remember of it, if that makes sense. It was an interesting stab at being a WoW killer. Not that I think a WoW killer will ever happen. The WoW will be the WoW killer.
I mean, I played more ESO than any other MMO except WoW. In other words, I played it for about 2 months. And I remember the early days, it was shit. I barely played it back then, but it was terrible. I sort of came in midway through. I remember I got to max level when the Elsewhere expansion came out, which I think was a few years ago now at this point. And then I realized it was horizontal progression at the end of the game, and I just stopped playing. Like I did with Guild Wars 2. Because it's like, I mean, like, there's a lot of content to explore. There's absolutely loads of it. And part of me sometimes wants to reinstall it and go back just to explore Tamriel as it is in ESO. But it's not worth the 150 gigabytes or whatever it is. It's going to take up half my storage on my laptop.
Good God, speaking of gigabytes there, so what was the original Oblivion size? What, 12 gig? 13 gig? If that?
It was in the teens, I think.
Yeah. 125, I think it was, for Oblivion Remastered.
Yeah.
What the hell happened?
It's a modern game, mate.
Yeah, I think it's going to be all the code libraries that that get installed to do all the translation between, what the developers want to do and the various bits of hardware and stuff like that. There's so much bloat on computers nowadays.
Optimization is a thing of the past. Hey, Heretic, welcome.
There's an awful lot of pixels. So many pixels.
You jest, but there are absolutely arse tons of
pixels.
Foliage effects when you're in the forest of leaves falling down, or when you're at the beginning of a dungeon, there'll be like leaves falling out of the entryway in the dungeon. And there's like loads of little bugs that they've put on the floor that sometimes glitch out, and there's just a pile of them in the corner rather than spread across the dungeon.
So wait, the bugs are bugging out.
Hey. Elven Maiden says in chat there, Unreal 5 happened, and that's very true. One thing that has me a little bit concerned about Wayward Realms is the fact that it is Unreal 5, but they have done it from the ground up in Unreal 5, so hopefully it won't be as janky as just layering the engine over what they've done here, which I think is the Gamebryo engine for Oblivion. I'm hoping that the creation set still kind of works for it, because I'd like to whip out my old mods again, because I used to mod Oblivion much more than I did Skyrim. I knew my way around the Oblivion creation set. Look, we've got success on the horizon with the Oblivion Remastered. We all think that RPGs are going to get better. We've all got ones that we're looking forward to. I've mentioned a few. Any other notable RPGs coming down the pipeline that you guys are keeping an eye on?
Other than the obvious ones, like Expedition 33.
Well, that's out.
Oh yeah, well, I haven't played it yet though.
Well,
I live under a rock. I didn't even know this was out until it was out, type thing. So
I even warned you.
I think you're the one who told me about it. Honestly,
Your reaction was what?
Yeah.
Well, it did shadow release, to be fair.
And up until then, it was just rumors upon whispers from the east. But yes, it's here. It's done well. We all like Oblivion. Remake or no? See anything funny happen? Because let's be honest, whenever we talk about the Elder Scrolls, the thing that happens is people go, I saw a woman floating upside down 30 feet off the floor, and then she said, oh, I saw a dragon, and then she fell and died. Yeah, that sort of thing. So
yeah, mostly with Oblivion, yeah. I feel like Skyrim wasn't as funny.
That's because Skyrim was more on rails. Like the Oblivion's schedule system isn't solid, whereas Skyrim actually has like paths set out that NPCs will do in Whiterun and things like that. So I think Oblivion's Radiant AI is just the perfect engine for unintentionally funny moments. But as I was saying while we were playing the other day, even when it doesn't make any sense at all, having that Radiant AI chattering away to itself in the background actually makes things feel quite a bit more alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. And it gives you a good old chuckle.
Yeah. And sometimes it even works.
It can be very annoying though, because I remember one time I was playing Oblivion, waiting for this guy to come out of his house, and he was supposed to come out of his house like 10 o'clock or whatever, and I'm waiting, and then apparently he doesn't come out of his house on Saturdays. Oh well, or whatever it is. I'm like, well, thanks for that. Wasn't in dialogue, but the wiki's saying, yeah, he's not going to. You got to say thanks. Yeah, that was. Which is realistic, I suppose. Like,
yeah, I had a similar experience just a couple days ago where I was trying to do Molag Bal's quest, where you have to get the guy to beat you to death with a mace. Don't do that on massive difficulty, by the way, because Molag Bal can't save you before he actually kills you. He was supposed to come out of his house to go and spend time at his wife's grave. Could I get him out of his house? Nope. I had to wait inside of his house, I think, to get him to trigger to go outside. It was very strange. Yeah, sometimes it just doesn't work. It breaks horribly. Or there's the Copious Coin Purse quest, where you've got to follow Arngir and the Wood Elf and overhear their conversation about a shipment, and you can just stand between them while they're having this secret conversation with each other.
Yeah. That happened with a guard in the same place at the same time as well. There was a guard that stood there just staring at them. As they were like, the new shipment, the really illegal shipment, have you got that? And he's like, yeah.
I love it.
He's in on it, so he's waiting for his bribe.
I think it touches the same kind of happy place, that Dungeons and Dragons touches, because it's just some absurd, ridiculous stuff happening, but it's also genuine that you just kind of take it at face value. Ooh. Notifications, many notifications.
I feel like with Oblivion, though, I mean, this is the first time I've ever played it with the remaster, never played the original. I feel like the memes and the jank are like 90% of the reason the game's good. I know there's some good quest lines, and the guilds are better than they are in Skyrim, but I do not think Oblivion would even be relevant, and probably wouldn't have even had a remaster if not for the fact that it makes absolutely shit tons of memes. It's the funny game.
It is the funny game. But
you type in Oblivion on YouTube, you're not getting serious videos, you're getting funny moments.
But it still gets people to go and play the game.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I think if it wasn't for the Radiant AI being as funny as it is, I mean, let's say that the Radiant AI worked perfectly and it wasn't funny, but it worked like really well. It was really immersive. I think that would have been good too, but
it wouldn't have had the same draw.
Yeah, because otherwise, I think it would have just been like a slightly worse Skyrim.
Skyrim is something I think we should talk about, because it is a little bit of a black sheep. Is that fair to say, or am I being unfair to Skyrim? know we talked
Skyrim
about
was
this.
pretty much the only Elder Scrolls game I actually played before playing the Oblivion remaster and Elder Scrolls Online, but that doesn't count.
And how much of Skyrim do you remember?
Barely any of it, because it was 14 years ago.
Uh-huh.
I still have some memories playing it, but I got about halfway through the game, and then my friend discovered a glitch with alchemy or something like that, where you could like exploit the potions and make infinite potions or whatever. Anyway, you could end up doing billions of damage. So about halfway through the game, he told me this. And being in high school at the time, I was not really against exploiting a game. I thought, oh, that sounds wicked. So I did that.
Wicked.
I one-shot everything in the game. I one-shot Alduin at the end, one-shot the Giants. Then after that, I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll do some side quests and actually complete all the rest of the game. I went up to a dragon and I hit it, and I did no damage. And I thought, well, what the fuck's going on? So I looked in my inventory at all my weapons. The weapon numbers had broken and were now doing minus 1 billion damage per hit. All of them, not just the weapon I was using. Like, I broke the game, so I was healing enemies when I hit them. And I was like, well, that sucks. So I started new saves, and then something happened with the mods where it broke. And so from that day forward, even if I had one mod installed, like even the most basic mod, it would crash to desktop when I launched it. And then I never really went back until like somewhat recently. I got a few hours in, and then I was like, this game feels dated. And I just went and played like Elden Ring or something.
A proper RPG with proper stats.
True.
Oh, lots.
Nerds! Yes, thank you. The reason I say Skyrim's a black sheep, heretic, I saw you giggling at me, is because it is... Is it an RPG?
Well,
Guys?
yeah.
Is it? Is it really though? Like, there's no real statistics, there's perks, there's action in it. But is it an RPG? Is it a Western style role-playing game, or is it sort of something else?
Well,
I mean, it's definitely more of a transition between old school RPG and action, which is what we've had most of the time. Look at the Assassin's Creed games that have come out, for example. They've all been technically RPGs because you get gear and leveling and all that, but then they monetize the shit out of it and it's grindy and shit. But I don't think Skyrim isn't an RPG. I just don't think there's as many RPG elements as older games.
Eric's?
yeah, so I think RPGs are a lot about choice and playing a character and playing a role and be able to play that role within a game. And so I would kind of ask, what choices can't you make in Oblivion that you can't make in or can make in Skyrim? So you can do the main quest, you can join guilds, you can do side quests, you can ignore the main quest. Like, choice wise, they're very similar in terms of like how you can approach what you do within the game. So if Oblivion is, why wouldn't Skyrim be?
I think for me, it comes down to mechanics. So I understand in terms of like, there is the role playing in terms of you're doing the RP. Like, I'm going to play, I don't know, Alexios Constantinios, and I am an elf from Fiefel's world, and I'm going to use sort of conquistador-looking armor and gunpowder, and I'm going to limit myself to that, and I'm going to have certain personality traits that I apply to the character, and I'll pick dialogue options consistent with the personality traits there. There's that. But what Skyrim lacks that all the other Elder Scrolls games had up to that point is attributes, is skills affected by those attributes, and abilities and things that happen throughout the game that affect those attributes. And it's got health, stamina, and magicka in Skyrim, and perks. I don't think that is as robust a system as Oblivion. And Oblivion is not a robust a system as Morrowind, and Morrowind is not as robust a system as Daggerfall. We had this conversation.
It depends kind of how you class a role-playing game, because it's like The Witcher, a role-playing game.
See, I tried to play The Witcher 1, and I got to the point where the green doggos were running down the road, and then the child started floating, and I couldn't take it seriously. I burst out laughing. Usually graphics don't bother me, but I burst out laughing, and all I could think about was Scooby-Doo, and that was it for me. Maybe I should try it again now that I'm older and more mature, wiser, better looking.
It's just because you because I don't remember like specifically, but there's not that many stats and systems in The Witcher 3, for example, and you have less choice in that than in Skyrim. But I think like broadly speaking, like, people would regard The Witcher 3 as a role-playing game.
Yeah.
So it's just, which again, if we go back to like the original point of like the Golden Age and stuff, The Witcher 3 again showed that people are very much into really gritty Western role
Fantasy,
playing.
yeah.
So I don't think it's ever gone away. It's only we've had these major marquee games of The Witcher 3 and Baldur's Gate 3, and now they've remade Oblivion, which honestly I think might be on the back of that type thing. It's like they know it's gonna sell, so that's why they did it. But I'm the question of like what an RPG is maybe is maybe for another day sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because if you saw about you playing a role, Pac-Man is an RPG because it is though, isn't it? Because you're playing a role.
All right, that was you know what? That's a good soundbite. Well done, you got me.
Well, in modern days, I'm pretty sure anyone just classifies an RPG as, is there a leveling system, and can you upgrade your gear?
So then Borderlands is a role-playing game.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Actually, unironically, it's like a RPG shooter or something it's classed as, but the meaning of RPG is not like it used to be. It's just,
which is why I think
level up, and can you like play a class, I guess.
Yeah. Well, for me, that's why it comes down to choice within the game rather than systems and.
Well, if that's the case, Variax, Oblivion has more choice than Skyrim because you have to choose where you're going to specialize mechanically.
Yeah.
We'll come back to this. I want to get Dean's opinion on it.
Sorry.
And then we'll talk about Feifel's question here.
Yeah. It's a very interesting question because they stripped out a lot of the mechanics to make it far easier to play for the layperson to get into the game. And it comes down to, as Variax has said, what is an RPG? If it is about having a character persona that you control, making decisions, telling a story, then surely a game like Life is Strange is an RPG. But I think a lot of people would say something like Life is Strange is a story-based game. And the biggest reason they'd probably say that is because there are no mechanics behind the scenes. There's no leveling, there's no increasing of abilities, there's no collecting of gear. All of the sort of classic stuff we attribute to being an RPG. And if that's the case, then I'm sorry, but Skyrim has to be considered an RPG because you collect gear, you upgrade it, there's a crafting system. There are attributes, albeit they're skills that you take up. And they all have values and numbers. So there is a lot of crunch behind the scenes. And it's a similar argument to use Fallout. Fallout 3, fantastic game. Fallout New Vegas, absolutely amazing. Fallout 4, I got to be honest, I think for me is one of my favorite Fallout games. Because
they Skyrimified Fallout 4 in terms of
Unfortunately, they did, but they also did far more in the way of customizing
that
gear
formula,
and customizing your weapon.
That Skyrim / Fallout 4 formula is a drug to the human brain. They call it Skyrim brain, where you sort of I can play Skyrim and Fallout 4 with my eyes shut on master difficulty because it is an easy game. It is a sort of game where you are not punished for any choice, you're only rewarded for things. Whereas in original Oblivion, I actually have some criticism of the Oblivion remaster's level changes. The original Oblivion, if you wanted to go around using an axe and you've been using blades all game, you're not going to do much with that axe. Whereas if I was to pick up any weapon in Skyrim, I'm suddenly a master at it because I have one-handed skill, and an axe is just the same as a sword, don't you know? It's that sort of thing. But no, I see where you're coming from. Definitely so. But I do want to get on to Feifel's question here. And shouldn't CRPGs, and CRPG is a term we've not brought up yet, and probably should bring up more, because we're talking about computer role-playing games, and I think most people see that as someone said it in the chat, and I brought it up earlier on. Doesn't it being isometric make it an RPG? And yes, it does. Shouldn't CRPGs have the most complex and crunchy systems possible, since it can run seamlessly for the player? What do you reckon, lads? Crunchier the better?
It depends what you're into, really. I mean, like, there is such a thing as too complicated. If there's like way too much detail, and you've got to have the exact right balance of strength and dexterity in order to wield this one weapon with a certain amount of proficiency and all that. Okay, some people enjoy that, but for others it gets tedious. I mean, at the end of the day, Skyrim, as stripped down as it was more popular than Oblivion. When it came out, Skyrim was revolutionary, changed the gaming world practically. Right now, maybe it's because of marketing, maybe it's because of the time it came out. Who knows, right? But at the end of the day, more people have played Skyrim than the older games like Oblivion, and I think part of that might be because it was simplified. You got to remember, modern audiences like simplified games. Sometimes we cry out for an old game because we get tired of the boring, simple games. Is like, oh, maybe I want something more complex every now and then. But I think that's more the exception to the rule. I mean, look at the Souls games. Souls games massively popular right now, and have been ever since like mid 2010s. One of the most simple games possible. There are builds you can do, but they're really not that complicated. You just spam everything into strength and spam everything into health.
Ooga boonga.
You get the biggest weapon you can find, and now you're winning the game.
Ooga boonga. Dark Souls is an interesting one to bring up, because that is an RPG in my opinion, but it's also very much, it's like a Western RPG with a Japanese seasoning to it. It's very interesting on the palate. Look at me, I'm using fancy words. Anyway, back to the original question there. I'll bring it back up for Variax and Dean, if I can find it. It was a little while ago. There it is. Dean, you first.
Right, well, having experienced the kind of birth of a lot of the computer-based RPGs that we're talking about, they were very niche because a lot of people didn't understand them. If you had if you loved role-playing, if you played the Fighting Fantasy books and stuff like that, there was a lot of terminology you could take on board and understand. So for me, there are two games that I cut my teeth on. One was Dungeon Master, which I consider an RPG. You got lots of stats in there, lots of puzzles. There's not much in the way of character interactions, but there's a lot of decisions and things you can do. And the other one was the Bard's Tales, which had a lot of gear, a lot of equipment, a lot of stats, lots of creatures you fought, very turn-based. So I would say that for me, at least, the crunchier the system to a point, the more I consider it as an RPG. I wanted to really love the latest Baldur's Gate 3, and I couldn't because the crunch was kind of there, but it wasn't
kind of soggy in the middle.
You could, it was, and that's excluding the fact that your party members are trying to hit on you.
I hated that. Apparently they fixed that, but that was still what I took away from it. Yeah.
However, it's there's got to be the right level of crunch for me. And a good example, love Final Fantasy VII. Played it to death when it first came out. They did the remaster, and I wanted to love it. I really did, but it didn't have the heart and soul of the original. The materia system was quite flat.
I didn't play the remaster because I didn't want to spoil the original for me.
I've gone back to the original.
Fantastic game. Really great game. Now I want to play. I have it on my Switch, and I would carry it around with me for a while. I'd play it on the bus and on the train. Anyway, that's different topic. So, Variax, what is your opinion on Fifle here?
Yeah, it's all about balance, really. Because if you get the most complex system, it would be so bogged down and not accessible. So it would be intimidating. And like fantastic games, a game can be like really fantastic and complex, a bit like Dwarf Fortress, I suppose. That's a game that when it came out, looked basically like the computer had completely crashed.
Yeah.
And it is really intimidating to get into. If you get past
I've tried
that
a few times.
Yeah, it's but you miss out because it's maybe complex is the wrong word, but it's intimidating and it's a different language, and you basically have to learn a language in order to play it. So in order for a game to be a success, and how you would define that is kind of up to whoever's making it. You have to maybe appeal to more people, and to do that we get a Skyrim which is dumbed down, and okay, well we won't have so many stats, we'll make everything very visual, and won't have more than like one line of text on the screen at a time type thing, which is kind of what it does. But that's dumbed down too much, so you kind of like have to have the balance between, but where that is will depend on individuals and companies and what they kind of want. And Baldur's Gate 3, it has that crunch, but it also has everybody can do everything, so and big numbers is good, so you can kind of get around it quite easily by just remembering those things. And
I do have a quick Rumble rant to shout out. Heretic says, I bring up every single time, and wherever, you all need to play Betrayal at Krondor, which is not something I am familiar with. I don't think I've ever heard you say that before. Maybe you have, maybe I just missed it. Bye, Connect. Have a good night. You guys ever play Betrayal at Krondor?
Nope.
No, I've seen it played, but I haven't had the pleasure.
I swear this is the first time that Heretic has brought this up, and apparently he brings it up every time I bring this up. So sorry, Heretic. I obviously did not pay attention or have forgotten. Sorry. All right.
Well, on the topic of complexity, anyway, I actually think playing the Oblivion remaster, I know it's slightly different to the original, never played the original. I actually think it has the right amount of depth. Now, I don't remember Skyrim's depth because it's been 14 years. So I genuinely can't remember what my build even was. I just remember having full Daedric armor and one-shotting things because I exploited something. And that's another thing, actually, I want to bring up. I find a lot of modern games are very averse to exploitation. You can exploit the shit out of Oblivion, right? It's like you want to train your athletics, just get some kind of like automatic little robot finger or whatever on your spacebar, leave your computer on for 24 hours, come back, and now you've got full acrobatics.
Yeah.
Right? Or what I exploited the lockpicking, because I'm not going to lie, the lockpicking was very frustrating in that game. I know some people love it, but I was getting pissed off. And Jack found an exploit, and he did it a little bit. But basically, if you get the first tumbler, and then you just spam the spacebar button, it continuously levels up your lockpicking skill. So I just did that till I was a lockpicking master, and now I never have any trouble with lockpicking anymore. And I think part of exploiting games, okay, yeah, it can ruin the experience if it's too broken. But I actually feel like that's what makes a good RPG. Like, if you want to exploit the shit out of the game, go ahead.
If you want to become a god.
It's just another part of player choice, really, if you think about it. Whereas modern games now are so like, oh no, we don't want our players to exploit this mechanic, so we're going to restrict, we're going to limit, we're going to like just have like a cap on how many times a day you could do this thing. MMOs are the worst for this, but I just feel like it holds you back a lot.
Yeah,
I noticed that coming in with over leveling. Because of the age I grew up, I used to love spending time grinding loads of XP. So you became such a high level that the rest of the content was quite easy. And then there was a sudden swing where you weren't allowed to do that anymore. You know, the world leveled up with you, and Oblivion is guilty of this. Yeah, and I'm just looking forward to the mod. I played with a mod in the original, which set the world as it should be.
Was it
by putting level
Obscuro's Oblivion Overhaul?
I think it was, yeah. And it was fantastic. Yeah. But it's that you're not allowed to exploit. Everything's got to be balanced. Everything's got to be fair. And sometimes, do you know what? I want to play a god in an RPG. I want to spend an hour.
Power.
Absolutely, yeah.
But the Elder Scrolls games, especially the old ones, are always very good at this. Like Variax, when you popped into some of my first Morrowind streams, and you were like, "It's a bit early for Umbra, isn't it?" Like, yeah. And it's like I learned this by watching you with the Sajama and the getting the Lord's Mail and just you make a fortify intelligence potion that lasts for a second, but because time is paused in the menu, you can just use that second to craft more fortify intelligence and so on and so forth.
Yes. You think you can exploit Oblivion? Sorry, Morrowind's another level entirely. But yeah, all comes down to player choice, and I think that's what a role-playing game is it needs to offer you choice about how you play it and what you do in it. And if one of those choices is to exploit the hell out of it, then it's a single-player game. Like, why are you trying to police it when that player is having the experience they want to do? So yeah, I don't understand it, and I always think that restricting choice is bad. So the less choice that a game has, I think the less RPG it tends to be.
There is another side to that coin, however, and that is when you have too much choice, you have no choice. So you've got sort of the slightly restricted versions of choice in Oblivion, Morrowind. And by the way, try exploiting magic in Daggerfall. If you want to be a god, magic in Daggerfall is busted. You can create a spell which recharges your mana as you cast it. It is stupidly powerful. But Skyrim, you can technically choose to be anything. But it's like the Incredibles. If everyone's super, no one is. So you sort of, I talk about this with the Brass Dragon quite a bit, and that is the idea of walled gardens, or restriction being the necessity of invention. So if you're restricted by a certain skill choice at the beginning of the game and character creation, you're actually more likely to make an interesting choice further down the road due to that restriction. If you are, say, you take Blade, but you find a Variax, a mythical axe wielded by a hero that went on many requested quests, then you suddenly you want to use that axe, and you have to go and go like on a little side mission to go and get your axe up so you can actually use that weapon that you found. So yeah, there's that.
Yeah. I mean, some of my best characters, have that. Yeah, I mean, you're right. Having limitations makes the best kind of character. Like, you can make characters like, I'm never going to steal anything, for example. I'm never going to use a ranged weapon or whatever. But these are limitations that the player is able to put on themselves rather than the makers saying, you have to play it this way.
Well, the maker says you can use a bow, but if it's the first time you picked up a bow, good luck. Is kind of where I'm coming from with that.
Yeah.
Incidentally, the Wayward Realms is going to be perfect for this sort of gameplay, because if you've given yourself certain restrictions, the virtual game master will pick up on the way you're playing and will play with those restrictions in mind. So if you're going to play this honorable person that doesn't steal, to use your example, Variax, then it's not going to give you a quest where you're going to go and outright commit theft. You'll have other ways of getting about that. Which is one thing I think in Oblivion is a bit of a restriction itself. So I'm not role-playing my current Oblivion Remastered playthrough. I'm just turning my brain off and having fun. But if I was playing a good character, like the Brass Dragon has got all the Knights of the Nine gear, you can't commit any crimes, Brass, otherwise you lose all that gear. I've just done
that got me in trouble, that did.
Yeah, I've just done the Molag Bal quest where I had to do an evil act. I would have lost that gear if I was playing the way you were playing. Oblivion and even Skyrim, they make it really difficult to be incentivized to play the honorable character, because all the fun stuff is kind of behind this evil act paywall. Whereas I think you should have things which encourage you to be this lawful good hero.
Well, I think the thing that encourages to be the lawful good hero in Oblivion is that is what the entire main quest is geared towards. The Defender of Cyrodiil. So that's the story that they gear you towards to play. But if you veer off that, you find all these other things that you could do, like the best written guild I think that's ever been in Elder Scrolls, which is the Dark Brotherhood.
Oh yeah, it's ubiquitously known as just the best writing of anything. I think is that guild.
Yeah, and I'll never experience it because my character is lawful good. I'm like a paladin.
That's what you get other characters in for, mate. Right,
every single RPG, great sword, heavy armor, job done. It's one build.
We have a $10 do Rumble Rand from Heretic. Exploitation has always been the bread and butter, the heart of tabletop role-playing games. Being able to color outside of the lines is what I enjoy from tabletop. Same with exploits. Yeah, I'd say that was fair, actually. What do you guys reckon?
Yeah, I mean, specifically with single-player games, I guess. But...
You don't really need balance if it's only you it's affecting.
Yeah, like Baldur's Gate 3, for example, it's basically single-player D&D. And if you want to one-shot the boss by stacking 500 explosive barrels and then just throwing them over there and doing so much damage it breaks your PC, then go ahead. But if my players tried that in actual D&D, I'd tell him to fuck off.
He would. And if we didn't, he'd...
Yeah, I'd agree. Tabletop exploitation is using your abilities in an interesting way that doesn't take the piss. And that I completely encourage. A solo computer game, yeah, if you want to exploit, if you want to download a mod that makes it easy, which I'll put my hands up. When it comes to Dark Souls, Elden Ring, I'm terrible at those games, but I want to experience them. So I find an easy mode mod, pop it on.
That's fair, to be honest, that is fair.
No, shame him. Shame him now.
Absolutely, I enjoy the game.
Fair enough.
But I wouldn't do that around a table with other players.
What you should try, Dean, rather than using an easy mode mod, and perhaps we can make a little stream out of this. I don't know if you played Elden Ring at all, Variax?
No, just Dark Souls 1 and 3.
So there is a mod for Elden Ring. It's called Persistent Co-op. The Brass Dragon and I have played several times before. And I always thought it would be really funny content to sort of add either one or two extra people to that party and record as Brass and I just kind of like stand off to the side as we watch people who've never played the game before attempt to take on, just say, the knight at the as you get out of the beginner's dungeon.
The problem with that idea is the bosses scale with the amount of players.
I would just make it funnier.
So they'd be fighting they're not just fighting a knight, they're fighting a knight that's now 4 times stronger than it should be.
Yeah, we'll help them a little bit, but it would just be funny to sort of see the choices made, but like from a kind of like a shepherd, like a child watching his son run off, a dad watching his child run off, a child watching his bloody hell. I think that would make for funny content. There's loads of video game stuff I want to do, but it's one time, and two, everyone else's schedules and getting people to play with me as well is the issue. But I think that would be quite funny.
I think so. Yeah,
I think Shellback Bow said they were making bacon. Yes, I demand some bacon. My co-hosts here would also like some bacon, I believe. You must give us bacon. True. We'll send the Brass Dragon over to pick it up. He can fly over to Japan. How fast can a Brass Dragon fly? He's the fastest one, isn't he?
Well, mechanically, 80 feet every 6 seconds, so slower than you could walk, practically.
I love D&D. So, look, we brought up level scaling. Did you guys see the video I put up sort of late last night? The 2-minute one, where it's just level scaling summarized? Because I didn't really exploit the game, but I am a spell sword, light armor, blade, and then every magic skill except conjuration, because I wanted to try and not cheese conjuration as much as I usually do. And, I'm master destruction, master alteration, master restoration, because I made my own custom spells that gave me the option to just train my stats. So everywhere I went, I was just constantly casting these spells. So I'm very powerful in terms of magic. But then I did the first Oblivion game at level 25. And every enemy that you encounter is geared for level 25. And even with the new Oblivion leveling, where I've got loads of 100 attributes because it's not sort of divvying up points like it used to, I'm getting my ass handed to me because I'm wandering into a room, and with the bit where you go into the castle of Kvatch, there are about 5 or 6 storm atronachs. There's Javali, there's about 4 of them. There's 2 or 3 spider Daedra. There's clan fears everywhere that people are summoning. Each Daedra summons a different kind of Daedra. They're all casting spells and weakening spells on you at the same time. You know those guards on the Gold Road that come in? Oh, we saw the smoke from the Gold Road. What can we do to help? They all died instantaneously as we stepped into the Undercroft of Kvatch's chapel. So level scaling in Oblivion is still gloriously busted, but what do you guys think of it? Because usually I'm quite low level when I do these things, but not this time around. You guys had any fun level scaling moments?
Well, I don't know about fun. I mean, I fucking hate level scaling. Coming from a WoW player, it absolutely just ruins the immersion, ruins the game. Now, I thought I would absolutely loathe Oblivion's level scaling, but I'm on two minds about it, because yes, it gets kind of stupid, especially if you leave the main story for too long and you got to like protect NPCs. It's like, oh, now they're dying in one hit because I'm level 20. But I feel like Oblivion kind of needs some sort of level scaling, because, and maybe it's just because of how the whole world in Oblivion or Cyrodiil is basically just a circle, a bowl, and so you're not going to have like these separate regions. Like even in Elden Ring, there's not really levels to the monsters per se, but there's still a form of like, this is the early game zone. That's Caelid. You don't want to fucking go over there. That's this other zone that's going to be really hard to get into at low level. I like that in an RPG because it feels like you're making progress as you level. Whereas with Oblivion, I do find it is very repetitive, I will say. And especially considering that a lot of the dungeons are exactly the same. I think I remember that is one thing Skyrim did better. I think the Skyrim dungeons were actually handcrafted. If I remember, it's been 14 years, I don't know.
They were.
But yeah, I just prefer being like, right, you start off in this area, this is level 1 to 5 or whatever, and then you go to this area. Yeah, it's slightly more linear. If you want a complete sandbox, then level scaling is kind of necessary to an extent. But, I mean, Oblivion's old, so the level scaling was always going to be busted.
Busted is a little bit weak language, let's say.
I mean, I've heard about people being level 50 and trying to do the main story quest in Oblivion, and like, yeah, apparently, like, I don't think it's even possible to do unless you go on easy difficulty or something.
Yeah, I'm getting that feeling in where I'm currently at. Unless I quickly go back to my spell making altar and just go full, right, we're going to exploit the shit out of this. I go and duplicate or buy back all the Welkin stones that I've sold to one individual vendor, and I just give myself practically infinite mana for a while and spam AoE effects. Yeah, that's the only way I can think about fixing the situation that I'm currently in. Also, when you're running around, there's like, you see what Bandit, full Daedric gear, Daedric Claymore, enchanted with 50 points of fire damage. Like, bloody hell, why are you a bandit?
Yeah, I agree with Brass. It completely like ruins the immersion because of that. You know, like why would they be a bandit when they have that kind of gear? Just sell it and buy a house and live heavily after type thing, you know. So, and all the like low level mobs, you know, like scamps and stuff, like just disappear from the world. So yeah, I was never a fan of the Oblivion level scaling, which is why, you know, I used Obscuros and things like that to kind of fix it to add a little bit, because, you know, I do think it lacks a little bit of progression, because in Dark Souls you can hit a boss like Quelaag, for example, you get pretty early and it's like, oh, I can't do this, but you go away to some other stuff, come back and kick her ass, and that's she's at the same level as what she was, but you've got better. You don't really get that with the level scaling, because everything levels with you. So there's a scamp that kicked my ass, go back and, oh, now it's a spider, and it's the same kind of level of challenge, if you like. So yeah, I'm not a fan of it. I never have been, and I don't think I will be. So we'll see how the remaster treats me, really.
It's a bit of a mixed bag. I'll let Dean give his opinion first, and then we will talk about how the leveling kind of affects this, because they've changed the stat system entirely, sort of.
Yeah, I think that the biggest problem you've got with Oblivion's level scaling, and it could potentially work, is it doesn't take your gear into account. And I had this problem. I did the lockpick trick because I hate picking locks.
Just use alteration.
I did a trick with pickpocketing. Yeah. I did a trick with the pickpocketing. There's a couple of people you can pickpocket. They don't mind it. You get your stealth skill up. So I ended up being about level 10. Went back to one of the beginning dungeons, and the bandits outside, my gear just it was struggling to take him down, and it was breaking within seconds. And it felt frustrating at that point. And maybe Oblivion needed to factor in what gear have you actually got and what's your level, and then that combines to a power rating, and that power rating is set. I'm not condoning this route. I think things should be gated. I think areas should be considered more risky, more higher level, and I think you should feel like a god when you go into one of the lower level areas and you're a higher level.
I completely agree. The level scaling is, I call it gloriously busted in Oblivion, because as much as it is immersion breaking, it goes straight back to what we were discussing earlier on. Oblivion is the meme game, and the level scaling just adds to that. It is so genuinely funny to come out of a doorway and see, many Shivali, one of these massive high level Daedra, which are supposed to be really rare, just all sort of lined up as an army, ready to just pounce on you and beat you to death. It's very funny. Not funny when it happens for the third time, but it's quite funny. But the leveling. Oblivion's leveling notoriously broken in the original because of the level scaling. Now, the level scaling is just as bad, but the leveling is such that you always have at least 2 attributes that you can put up +5, which was a hard thing to do in the original game. You had to really sort of change how you played from level to level to keep your attributes coming out at +5s. Whereas now it's always +5 to 2, +2 to another, or you can split the points up more separately if you like. But I've got 100 willpower, 100 I had 100 endurance by level 8. So it's you get these massive buffs in the way that Oblivion is now working that you didn't before, and it makes things more tolerable maybe, but also not really, because I'm still going into a dungeon level 25. I've got the stats to handle it, I've got the equipment to handle it, but it all breaks because the enemy is scaled to my level, not to my attributes or to my equipment, as you said. But yeah, you go in. Do you guys prefer the new leveling? I mean, I know Brass hasn't got the old leveling in his head, but I think I preferred the old one.
I preferred the new one. I've been at both. I'm sick and tired of ticking which skills I've leveled, and then going, right, can't do any more agility-based skills. It's got to be strength-based if I want to start to get some points in strength before you get that level. And it was a nightmare. I absolutely hated the extra steps you had to go through to make sure your attributes were balanced. And if you messed that up, you would end up with attributes that were way too low. And you wouldn't realize until you're about 20, 30 hours into the game and you were struggling against content. So I like the new one.
Fair enough.
I probably prefer the new one, but as you said, I don't know about the old one. But I don't like tedious mechanics.
I don't know. It's just I feel like it makes more sense in my mind for the gameplay to sort of feed into the attributes rather than, I've just spent this entire level training magic, I'm going to put all these points in strength. But I can also kind of look past that, and the new system functions just fine. But there's that little disconnect in my head that is it's hard to get over for me. Anyway, I don't know about you chaps, but it's bloody hot. I am melting. And I need to take this. I mean, believe me, the red Sonja shirt is very nice, but it needs to come off. In fact, the wife and cat are both lying in front of the fan on the floor, behind me together. So we'll have some last words. Yes, I do remember Fable. Fable was a very fun game for all of the first time through. We'll have some last words. We'll say goodbye. We'll plug you. You can plug yourselves, and then we'll say goodnight. So we'll start with Variax. Variax, do your famous YouTuber routine.
Okay, well, I'm a variety streamer that plays RPGs quite a bit. Morrowind's my favorite game. You can find me on Big V Streams on Twitch and Variax on YouTube. And yeah, let's hope for some good meaty RPGs in the next couple of years.
Mr. Dean.
Right, well, I'm a games designer. Got fed up with 5e. There were no games on the market that I wanted to play, so I've created my own. Final sort of phase of playtesting, and we're going to be releasing a taster adventure soon. So you can follow me on X at Hill_Jarrett. We also have a YouTube at Untold_Destiny, or on Facebook, Untold Destiny. So have a follow, have a look at it. If you're after a system that is really, it's got some crunch, but not too much, and it's got a lot of depth, a lot of choice.
See, that's something that perhaps I will have to sit down with Brass one day with you and have a go at.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. I'm more than happy to
I'll tell you what, we're all in the same time zone. Would that be something that Variax would be interested in being about for?
Yeah.
Ooh, there are plans are happening. Brass Dragon.
Well, I'm the Brass Dragon 1 on Twitter because I'm the one and only Brass Dragon. I've been very inactive this year on Twitter, but I did make I had a few tweets this month, mostly about creating challenging high-level encounters for D&D 5th edition without breaking too many rules, which is very difficult, to be honest. And I was going to do another versus matchup with the Green Dragon and the Lich, but the more I think about it, the more complicated that one becomes.
We had long discussions about that particular arrangement. In fact, if you want something very similar to the Brass Dragon's idea there, that just how complicated those discussions between him and I get on whether or not certain creatures would do how well certain creatures stack up with each other. Here is a link in chat now to the Dragon War stream we did, where we gave each colored dragon a bit of land and tried to figure out which dragon would win an all-out war. Green wins.
Blue wins, mate.
I think red actually won. But no, go check it out. It was quite a fun little conversation. Chaps, thank you very much for joining me. A bit of a shorter stream tonight because, as I say, I am bloody melting. And I want to not be melting anymore.